Welcome to the Empowerpreneurs podcast, all about building a business and life you love by doing it on your terms. I'm your host, Kaina, founder of Solidified, and every week you will learn how to create more income, freedom, and impact with strategies, inspirational stories, tips, and good vibes only. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out, and let's get started. Welcome back to the Empowerpreneurs podcast. My guest this week is Anita, and she is a light. She's a money mindset manifestation coach. She's a queen at what she does, and she has this fire community that loves to watch her videos on TikTok, and she's just such an amazing soul. And I've been so blessed to have some time with her and interview her about her story with manifestation and how everything started for her and how she's been able to help other people magnetize and magnify their energy into manifesting more for their lives. So I'm super excited for you to listen to today's podcast, and you are going to learn so many things about money manifestation. So I'm excited for this, but also manifestation in general, how she manifested going viral on TikTok and getting her dream apartment in New York. So I'm so excited for you to listen to this. And I just wanted to quickly let you know that I just launched a new freebie, which is a 5-minute meditation visualization to really activate your abundant self. This is so important for me because meditation really helped me get more into abundant energy. So if you are really open to receiving and playing in the energy of abundance so that you can experience a lifetime of wealth, happiness, and freedom, I really want you to listen to this amazing meditation, like having it as a ritual, and start to become a magnet to abundance and receive way more. So if you're interested in that, you can download it on the show notes or go to sonikai.com to download your freebie.
Oh, I love it. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm just so grateful, and thank you for working with me for getting on here today, because this is one of my biggest missions, is to get on as many podcasts as possible, any video, just so that we can really expand the awareness of what we're talking about today, money mindset. There's so many people who are just completely unaware. And so I just like to not only share my story as a testimony, but other people that are also doing this work. So I was excited that you said that you want to have a conversation about this, because it really is just a conversation that needs to be told.
Yeah. So would you share with us your story of how everything began for you and kind of like your background and knowing more about you?
Yeah. So I actually I always go back to 2018. Is when I first started learning about money mindset. So it was a time in my life where I was working 5 different jobs all at once. And I won't tell too much about all the jobs that I had and all the awakenings that I had. I do like to tell one story that really changed everything for me, which was when I was first introduced to a book. It was called You Are a Badass at Making. So long story short, there was an exercise in one of those in the book, and the book was just kind of introducing me to meditation. And she's also really funny. The author of that book is hilarious. And so I did this exercise that she had in the book, and I was like, okay, I'm going to meditate. And my goal to manifest was $400. This is just when I had quit all of those jobs. And I was starting my business as a makeup artist. And I was like, I really want to be a makeup artist. I want to do this full time, but I won't make enough, right? Those were the stories that I was telling myself. So I did this exercise where, again, I wrote how much I believed I could make in 3 days. And I wrote down $400. I wrote down all the ways that I could make it in my business. So I'm a numbers person. So I was a makeup artist. I was charging $60 per person. So I would have only had to have like, I can't remember. Now I'm like bad with the math, like four or five makeovers in order to make that money. Oh, wait, I think that's like way less. Anyway, so I needed to do X amount of makeovers. And then I told myself, if I don't get enough makeup jobs, then I'll drive for Postmates, or I can sell something, or I can borrow it. Like I was just being very resourceful. And then there's some other parts of the exercise. And I just sat down and I meditated for the first time ever. It was so awkward. It was so weird. I was always part of like the hustle grind. So for me to sit down for 5 minutes and just be like, it was very weird. Anyway, so that was on a Wednesday when I did that. And then I woke up the next morning on a Thursday. So I'm wondering if anybody in the beauty industry will hear this, because if they are conscious of this, it's so crazy. So I woke up on a Thursday and I had a notification from somebody who I had done makeup for, like a free like collaboration. And he tagged me in a post where there is a makeup artist looking for some help with a wedding on a Thursday. So I was like, oh, that's weird. So I go to the post, and the post has about 30 comments on there. They posted it like an hour ago. Weddings start super early anyway. So I was like, well, they probably already picked somebody. And I was like, wow, well, I'm just going to shoot my shot. So I messaged her instead of commenting, and I just messaged her and I said, hey, if you still need somebody, I'm available. She messaged me right back and she said, yeah, let's go. I had no idea who she was. She gave me the address and I was like, holy crap. So anyway, I was getting ready. I get to the hotel. I have no makeup on there. I just needed to hurry up and get there. And I get there and I was thinking that it was her bridal party, that like maybe she already booked that appointment and she just needed some extra hands, But what happened is that this bridal party reached out to her because their celebrity makeup artist from Canada had her flight canceled.
Oh,
I know, it was so crazy. So I was doing makeup for celebrity makeup artists, like clientele. And I was right out of like makeup school. So it was super crazy. So then I was like, whoa, like, I can't believe she picked me out of all those people that were commenting on that post. And I'm still thinking like, it's a Thursday. This is so weird. So anyway, we get upstairs and, we start doing makeup for everybody. There's about 4 people that I do makeup for. And these people have money. Like, it was so funny just hearing them talk. They're just like, oh, we would have flew in someone from New York, but we didn't have enough time. And I was like, whoa, like it was so weird for me to be around.
The people. Conversations are so different when you live in abundance, whether that's really like you see the difference when you talk with people that doesn't have, the scarcity about money.
Yeah.
People that does, it's another conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. It was my first time like opening up to that. It was just so mind blowing of like, what? People would do that? So long story short, they gave us cash. So technically I was working with the girl, so they gave the money to her first, and then she gave me the cash. So again, I charged $60. So then I did 4 people, so that would have been $260. So they gave me 3 $100 bills, and I was like, okay, cool. I was like, my goal was 400. I didn't know I was going to have this job today. All I need is 100 more. And I went downstairs and I'm leaving and I'm like all excited, I'm like giddy. And I forgot that I valeted my car because I got there late. So I had to give them cash. So I gave them the cash that I just got. But when I felt it again, it wasn't $300. It was actually $400 to the T. And in that moment, I went from giddy, excited, and motivated to like shock. Like I literally just went into shock like I felt numb, and it was like just this huge awakening of like, oh my God,
That's real.
And that's when everything started for me. I just became obsessed, like so obsessed after that.
That's an amazing story. I really love it because it really shows that when you believe so badly into something and that you are really going for it and that you're taking the aligned actions, because if you didn't maybe believe that it would have been possible for you to make this amount of money or anything, maybe you wouldn't have been taking your shot, like sending the message to the girl, and then like everything aligned with your vision in like one day. And you thought that, you had like 4 days to do so, I think you said.
Yep.
And it just was one day. And I think it's so mind-blowing and so awesome because even though, you talked about the fact that you kind of like was thinking of the ways you could, do that, how, you can make that money, but you haven't thought of this way, this way kind of came to you. And this is just like when you kind of give in the how, it just shows up in so many different ways that you would have never been able to figure out yourself. So it's just an amazing story. And I really, that's exciting.
It's so funny to like, I actually haven't told that story in a while. And I just like, sometimes I forget that like, because like Jen was that first person, like in the book, she was the first person for me to like open my mind up.
Yeah.
And so even though I manifested $400, which was great, it was like the belief that shifted. And then I forget that like people are listening to this right now and they're going to do whatever exercise or just think differently. And then they're going to have their story where everything changes. That's why I get so excited about these conversations because it's like, oh, it's just a whole different world.
Yeah, that's what I love about podcasts and books is that, you can get so many interpretations, like different interpretations. But at the end of the day, if people take action and implement what they learn this day, well, they can really shift a lot of things. It's awesome.
Yeah. And I like what you said about implementing what they learned too, because I see a lot of people who are conscious and aware of this, but they don't implement it. And that was me for a really long time too, that like I would implement it, like kind of going back to that story. Because you remember how I had the 4 days to manifest them. On that Sunday, my car broke down and I had to pay $400 to get it fixed. And I was so upset. I was so mad. I was so angry. And then I was like I would get in these vicious cycles because I was like, well, if I manifested that money, then I can do it again. Right. But I would just keep getting in these cycles because I had just such a bad relationship with money of like, if my car broke down, it literally was the end of the world for me. Like it ruined my vibration. It ruined my day. I was so mad at everybody else. I would just take it out on everybody. Yeah. I would just like be still so late on my bills and all this stuff because just like the way that I viewed money was so poor. And once I became conscious of like, oh, like I really have to treat money like it's a person, right?
Yeah. It's a relationship. And I love it because I see a lot of time, I don't have a car, but for most people that I've listened to or, talked to, when there is a shift about money, oftentimes the same week or like a week earlier, they had, their car broke or they needed to fix their car. That's something I see a lot. Like it's a kind of a pattern that I see is that people like need their car to be fixed. And then the week after that, they have, something happening instead of shifting of money.
Always go viral on TikTok for that because I just tell people like, I've had so much proof in myself, but kind of like what you just said, like you have that belief because you heard somebody else's story about it. you
Yeah.
know? And I think it's so important for us to like not only bring these stories to the surface and like for people to be conscious of them, but like just watch what happens next time you get excited when your car breaks down, you get a parking ticket, unexpected bill. Like I always just tell people like those things wouldn't come up for you if there wasn't something else good in store. And I'm very spiritual and very woo woo, but like I said, I did a very deep dive on this and I was like looking at the science of it. It's called the law of polarity.
Yeah,
So
I love this though.
right? Isn't it so great? Like, I think we need to talk about it more than the law of attraction, you know, because the law of polarity is when something like pretty much what goes up must come down. It's like, there's
it's the
always
contrast.
there's always something that contrast like right around the corner and people can't see it. And it's literally a universal law. So I'm like, just wait it out. You're going to be fine, you know?
Because you need to have those downfall in order for you to enjoy when you are in a high space. True. You know, you need to be sad in order for you to really enjoy being happy, you know, because you're like, oh my God, I used to be so sad and now I'm happy. So I know what it feels like to be sad. And I know that I don't really especially like love it, but you know, at the end of the day, being happy makes me even more happy because I know how it feels to be sad. So you always need, you know, you always have this contrast. And this is what I love about the love polarity is that it's okay if bad, quote unquote, things happen, or if things that didn't go as planned happen, or things that you don't enjoy happen, because that's literally what needs to happen for you to go back to an aligned way. You know, that's literally when I feel frustrated, I know that it means that I'm not aligned with my vision, with anything. And so it's all about realigning so that you can feel what you want to feel instead. Because what people do is that they get stuck because they get into the, you know, fixed mindset, or in the no responsibility mindset, like the victim mindset. Like, why is this happening to me? Why is this like, why this keeps happening to me again and again? I don't understand. I don't know what I did. Why? And sometimes it's just about, you know, validating first your emotions. Like, that's fine. You're feeling what you're feeling. Just acknowledge that. It won't go away if you're not acknowledging it. But then how can you take responsibilities for the things that you can actually control or change, and let go of the things that you don't literally have control over? So as an example, as coaches, you know, if you don't have clients, well, what can you control? And what is it that is not in your power? But what can you do to, you know, have the best experience possible when doing so?
Oh, this is so good. I'm just so great. Like, you are so aware, and I love having these conversations. It's part of my gratitude every day is like I used to have conversations where it was only talking poorly about other people, only talking about other people's business. And it's like that was before years ago. And it's like, kind of like what you're talking about, the law of polarity. It's like, I have so much appreciation for these conversations because of how poor the conversations were before. And even when like I get in situations like that where someone's talking poorly about someone, you know, my brain almost wants to go back and like, oh yeah, remember that used to be safe for us. But then it's just like conversations like this are just so amazing. So thank you. And I also just want to go back to like validating your own feelings. Like, I think so many people are looking for external validation, not only of like looks and success and money and stuff like that, but just really just validating their own feelings when things get hard. Like, you're the only person who needs to say, hey, you're really going through it and it's going to be okay. Like, it helps when other people say it and it amplifies. And sometimes like you just need someone on the outside looking in to be like, oh, that's what I've been through. And that is a lot. But also when you're the one to say like, okay, I acknowledge that. and I'm aware of it, and I have compassion for myself. I have compassion for like my thoughts that are coming in my head. Like a lot of people are so like take it personally of all their intrusive thoughts and thoughts that are bad and whatever. It's like, those thoughts aren't you, you know? And it's like, just because that's coming up, it doesn't mean that you're a bad person, or just because you're thinking something negatively doesn't mean that like you're gonna manifest it. You know, it's just like what you said, like releasing it and feeling those emotions is what's truly going to help you embrace and get through it. And then the other thing, what you're talking about was like kind of with coaches and with coaches and like not having the external things, right? I would just remember when I was going through that shift, I was like, okay, well, who would I be if I already had X, Y, and Z? And I remember when I was coaching, it's like I would get excited and motivated about stuff and I wouldn't follow through. And so some examples are like I would go on trips all the time. Like I went to Tulum for my birthday. I'll use that for example. I went to Tulum for my birthday and I was like, okay, I'm going on this trip. I'm celebrating my lunch. I'm doing X, Y, and Z. And like nothing's happening. I'm getting so drained. I'm so tired, not only with business, but things that were happening external, like outside of business, my friends, my family. I don't think I had a car at that time. I think, or maybe I did. I think I was selling my car at that time. There's just so much stuff coming up. And I was like, oh my gosh, like my friends kept canceling to come on this trip. And it was this and it was that. And I was like, should I not go? I should just not go. And then I was like, wait, that's the old Anita. So I was like, no, I'm going, I'm following through. And when I went, that's when I swear I've programmed this new belief that when I go on vacation, I go viral. That's when my videos went viral again. I ended up having people join my program. And it was like just the constant reminder of that belief and that story of like you have to keep showing up as who you want to attract, or else we get back in those same cycles. And I was like, oh, so like in my mind, what was happening is that my clients were getting excited and motivated, but they weren't following through just like I was. And then I just kept getting in this vicious cycle. And I was like, oh, so now I always go on vacation or whatever.
I love it. I love it. There is an affirmation also. It's like, when I take the plane, I have X amount of money, or I have a new client every time that I take the plane, or, you know, something like this. You can also have something like every time I take, I don't know, a ride or ride my bike, a new client is happening. So that
oh my god,
like, you know,
I love this.
Yeah,
those beliefs help so much, because when you tell yourself a story, your brain's just going to continue to keep figuring out that this is true. Oh, here's proof this is true. Even if it's not the way that we think it is, like it's still happening.
Yeah. And I remember you did a 3-day money mindset challenge, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of talked about, you know, attracting, and that your main belief or your most recurring beliefs are the most important, and they are those that are attracting what you want or do not want. And I really think it's really great, because it's like the law of polarity. You know, some people think that if they have, you know, sometimes negative thoughts, they think that they're going to attract it. But it's about your most established beliefs that are attracting what you want or do not want.
Very true. I seen a video on TikTok the other day that said, start to manifest patterns instead of manifesting like a big thing. And I just got so excited about that, because that was something that was coming up for me to like share with people. And it just kind of going back to what we just said, it's like a lot of people are manifesting like a large sum of money. When I get this large sum of money, then everything's going to change for me. You know, when I win the lottery or when I get the job or whatever, it's like when I made the shift of like, okay, like understanding that comes with the repetition, right? The repetition of thoughts, repetition of who you're being every single day, how you're showing up throughout the cycles. And everybody becomes familiar with their own cycles. Like there's things that happen in my vortex where I'm like, oh, I'm going through a shift. Oh, I know this is happening. Oh, there's my sign. And everybody has their own. But for me personally, I started manifesting passive income instead of like a large sum of money, because to me, it made me feel more safe. It made me feel like I didn't have to always be in the fight or flight, and I just was very conscious that like, okay, like I know that this isn't going to change everything for me, but it's only going to amplify who I'm being. And I think when you are in that mindset and you're like, kind of like in this wave of like, I'd be really excited if it happened, but I'd also be okay if it didn't, is when it's just like this most magical vibrational match, because you're not suffocating it anymore. And you're also really shifting again who you're being, opposed to like just one big thing changing it all.
Yeah. And you're not letting the results mean anything about you. That's a reminder that I need a lot, because sometimes I'm just like, when you are like heart-centered, you give a lot to your launches or to what you're accomplishing. And sometimes, the results that you get kind of tend to be like, oh, okay, so I had this result, so it means that means that about me. And sometimes it takes, awareness to realign with that and being like, no matter what results are happening, it doesn't mean anything about me or about what I do or about what could have been, what could have like not been or anything. It just means that it happened. Sometimes things happen. You do not need to put a meaning into every single things. What is the intention that you had behind, what you just accomplished? What is it that you wanted to feel? What is like the things that you were expecting, but maybe, wasn't believing in? So as an example, for coaches, if you want clients, but you don't believe that you are enough to get clients, or you don't believe in yourself about your abilities to serve them, then it will kind of like, have a big block, because, well, it won't happen. Because if your belief is about, well, I cannot get clients because if I do, what if I can't deliver? But then consciously you're like, yeah, but I really need clients and I really want clients. But, it's like kind of having some blocks like here and be like, okay, what do you want? I don't understand. And oftentimes your subconscious like win every single time, which is why it's kind of difficult, because sometimes you're not even aware of it. So you're like, but I don't understand. I do everything that I need. I do everything that, was for me to have the results that I want. And I don't get it. And it's frustrating, etc. But it's just because you're not aware of it. But something is blocking your way. Nothing happens because, a strategy didn't work, or because, something went. Because oftentimes it's because of your subconscious beliefs. Something was blocking your way. So, yeah.
Yes, so good. I'm so grateful that you're teaching this, because like what you're teaching is like quantum leaping. It's like so many people, like some people even manifest what they want and then they don't receive it, And I think what we're talking about right now is such a beautiful topic, because a lot of people get stuck. And I know we're talking about like removing ourselves from taking it personal from results. I think that also has to do with the good things too. Like my coach once told me is that if you're not going to take the bad stuff in and needed, don't take the good stuff in either. And I was like, what? And I'm like, always excited, always motivated, always X, Y, and Z. And kind of goes back to that first story that I told with the money that manifested. I was like, yeah, great. This is awesome. But then when it really manifested, I felt numb. I felt quiet. I felt like no emotion, like literally no emotion. I was in shock. And now I've realized that all of the times that I've manifested the big amounts, the big launches, or the clients, or the vacation, or the person, like it was always that same feeling. And I realized that was happening because I had so much, like I was really putting all of my power in that thing that I was manifesting. So when I manifested it, I felt numb and sometimes I even got depressed because I was relying on it to make me feel a certain emotion. And when I didn't feel that emotion, I was like, oh, well, what did I do this all for? What did I like? An example is my office. Like I was so excited about my office and my studio and I hired a team and I did all this stuff. And I was like manifesting all this money and the money manifested. And then I was just like never in the office. I was always outside. I could never be in there. And it was like, I needed to be seen in order to look to be successful. Like I needed other people in the office area to know that, oh yeah, she's doing a good job. She's doing a good job. And I just needed all this external validation. And I really took it in. And then when I realized that like, this isn't what I want, I just felt so numb. I felt so like, not even sad, but like this, like really inner work of like, oh, like
Yeah.
how at peace would you be if you had to give it all away? That's what I had to ask myself because the lease was already coming up and the lease came up and I was like, I would be okay if I had to leave tomorrow. I literally left that weekend and I was like, first so hard on myself. I was like, well, I could have done this, I could have done that. And, I still got time here. And then when I just really allowed myself to just go with the path of least resistance. And when I say path of least resistance, I mean what's coming up for you, the aligned action over and over again. It just felt so easy. It felt like it wasn't being forced anymore. It felt like I was like not needing the external validation. And so like I'm moving to New York and I'm doing it all over again, but like my intentions are different. I have the belief that I can do it for sure. But I know I'm going to do it way differently and I'm going to allow myself to receive. I'm going to ask for help if I need help and just really do it at a different vibration. So yeah, I love what we're talking about of like not taking the good things in either.
Yeah, it's really, and thank you for sharing this because, sometimes people think that by manifesting what you've wanted, then it's done, you're going to be happy. And it's all about, no, you can't start to be happy right now. You need to feel the emotions right now in order for you to manifest it, but mostly feel happy about what you're manifesting and enjoying it. Sometimes you're like, well, I want to do this. Like as an example for me, I wanted to do an online summit and I did it. And I was like, oh my God, that's so exciting, etc. But everything went so fast because I was doing so many things at once. And when it was over, I was like, oh, I didn't even took the time to really celebrate and, go inward and be like, how grateful I am for this. And, kind of seeing it happen because it went so fast. And at the end, I was like, I was sad. I was sad it ended because I didn't felt like I really enjoyed experimenting it because it went so fast. And so I haven't taken the time to really take, all the celebrations within my, like in me, because this is an achievement that I've made for myself as well, because I've been able to help others. But because, it's all about how can you start feeling what you want to feel today? Instead of thinking, oh, I need to be rich in order for me to be happy, or I need to move state in order for me to be happy, or I need to be with one person in order to be happy. You're always like putting your happiness or any emotions into the external world, like literally things that you cannot really control either. Like you cannot control who you can meet, like you kind of manifest it, etc. But some things are not in your control because, as an example, everyone has their own will, so if the person isn't for you anyway. But it's all about how can you start feeling joy, feeling, proud of yourself,
Mm.
even if it didn't manifest it, so that when it does, or even if it doesn't, you still feel proud of yourself. You still feel really joyful of everything you've accomplished as well, because it all starts within you. And when you start to, get into that state, when sometimes, you will have low vibe, you will have, sadness happening, the love polarity, remember. But when this happens, it will be so much easier to get back to your joyful state than if you're staying into this controlling state of, okay, I need to be feeling this, I need to have this, I need. You don't need anything. You get to have new things. You get to be feeling a certain way. You get to accomplish your goals. You get to implement and impact others, but it's not a need as well. I think it's super important to kind of like differentiate that. You need to eat in order to live. Yes, you need to drink in order to, hydrate yourself. Those are really like needs. And then you have, the different things. You need to be safe. You need to feel safe. You need to, different kind of things. You need community, as an example. Those are human basic needs. But what are the things that you can have control over or power over, and that you just get to?
Yes. Oh, this topic is so good. Straight up channeling over here. I just love the topic of enjoying the process, enjoying the little things. And I feel like I'm in the season right now for myself personally, where I'm like kind of quote unquote back to where I started, but at the same time I'm not, because I'm going through a big move. So I'm like getting rid of all my stuff and like just like really releasing all of my material things. Like and just kind of like having that balance again. And I think when I was in that first state where I was like, okay, I want this and I want that and I want this and I want that, and it's like I needed those things so much in order to feel, like we said, that certain emotion. And again, when I got them, I was like, okay, no, what's the next thing, and you don't feel that emotion. No, don't get me wrong. I was very grateful and excited, but it was also like, it just passes so fast.
Yeah.
And then when I started to become more excited about the journey and like every single client, like every single person's testimony, like I have like my DMs, I keep them, like it takes me forever to get to them, because when I get to them, I get to them. Like I love reading people's testimonies. Sometimes I don't get to them for like weeks, but I'm like, thank you for your patience, because I really just wanted to like listen to all these voice memos and look at these messages instead of just like being in the motion of, oh, thanks for sharing this. You know what I mean? And that's something that's like super, super important for me. And I think when I was getting into this phase of like, okay, launch and do this and then it's like, okay, we gotta get money because the studio, whatever. It was just like I was losing that. And I was losing like why I was doing it. But again, that law of polarity is like you needed that to happen in order for you to see what the real big picture was. And so even for everybody listening to this right now, it's like hearing these hard times that we go through, it's like not avoiding those things either. Like when it comes to manifesting the house or the money or the person, like still manifest those things because they're in your vortex for a reason.
Yeah.
And every single person here listening has to go through that same process of manifesting that what they want and it not being what they want in order to really understand what we're talking about. And then you can receive on a whole new level. Like when you really allow yourself to embrace that.
Yeah.
And I know we were kind of using like relationships as an example. And I loved using relationships as an example because, for example, a lot of people they want to manifest a specific person. Well, I want him. He looks that way. He talks this way. He makes that amount of money. He's 6'2". And then they suffocate it, right? And then they start to alter what they like and what they don't like because of this person. And like, I'm so scared of losing them. Or maybe they don't have them yet. Then they get the person and then they're like, okay, and now I'm so scared of losing him that I'm going to alter everything. And I think it's the same thing that we do with money. Like a lot of people like, okay, I want this job or I want this business or I want X, Y, and Z. And then we get it. And then we start to like work out of scarcity because we're scared to lose it, or we're still chasing it because we haven't felt like we actually got it yet. And then when you can really get to this place of like, okay, using the example of love, of like, yeah, everyone says it's better to love and loss than not love at all.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard that expression?
No.
Oh yeah, it's like, I think it's on the movies, but it's
I'm
better
French
to love.
as well, so maybe there is one thing that I don't know about.
Yeah, so it's better to love and loss than not love at all. Okay. And so pretty much what the expression is saying, it's like being able to experience that and have that, whether it's a breakup or someone passes, right? Really just looking at that and it's like, wow, well, I'm so grateful for the time that I did have with this. Yeah. And I think that's the same way that we should look at all of our manifestations. And I was watching this movie last night. It's called Free Solo. Have you ever heard of it? Oh my gosh. I think everybody should watch it, but at the same time, I'm going to give you a warning because it's so hard to watch. It makes me want to throw up. It's about this guy. Yeah. It's about this guy who free solos. Like, you know how people climb mountains?
Yeah.
He does it without a rope.
Oh.
And the mountain that he climbed or whatever it was, cliff, I think it was the biggest like world record, and he was practicing for it, and they're doing a documentary, and there's a lot of pressure because one, it was his first time having cameras on him like while he's climbing, and just like they kept talking about like, well, you know, like he's either gonna do it or he's not gonna be here anymore. And it was just like this amount of peace that he had, that if he were to lose everything, literally everything, one wrong move from not climbing this mountain the wrong way, he would be okay. And I just could not get over that because I was like, oh my gosh, if we could all really have our stakes like that high and what we desire, and say like, I'm going to do this. And if it turns out a different way, I'd be okay.
Yeah.
I think that's, again, the most powerful magnetic energy.
Yeah. Whatever happens, but at least I get to experience it. That's the beauty of it all. Like you get to experience it, and whatever, you know, it's a lot of resilience as well. It's a lot of being resilient is whatever happened, thinking back about the good things that happened as well, and keeping just the things that you can move on to, instead of, you know, keeping the grip on things that didn't work out and being like, okay, I need to change it. No, it's where it is, it's done. But what can you keep in order for you to learn and move on, so that then you can throw it away? Yeah, like you don't need to keep everything. You don't need to keep, like, you know, all your emotions. You know, you don't need to keep all the experiences and all the trophies that you had, all the, you know, manifestations that you've had. You know, be grateful for them, but what can they all teach you is way more important, you know, than what it didn't. Because oftentimes when we do have what we want, we don't get a lot of lessons. But when we fail, or when we don't have what we want, we get a lot more of lessons. And so when you start watching life as just a movie with lessons that you can keep or that you can get rid of, it's so much more easier to get through every single thing, because you're like, well, this isn't a failure. It's just something that I can learn from. What can I learn from it? What can I do? Maybe it's because I've done too much. Maybe it's because I need to rest, or I need to, you know, just be in my flow. What can you, you know, implement from what you just learned, you know?
Yeah. And I think having these conversations is what's helping us with that resilience.
Yeah.
Like every time I have conversations like this, it's like so many things click. Like, and it's like, again, continuing to prove the beliefs that I'm either now programming or have already programmed. It's just that the neuroplasticity. So neuroplasticity is like, let's say that this is a belief. This is a belief that you programmed, but it's kind of like when you speak Spanish and then you don't speak Spanish for a really long time, then you start to lose it. So like you have to keep using the muscle. It's the same thing with our beliefs. We have to keep like, oh yeah, that's proof. That's proof. Oh yeah. This is the belief. This is the belief. And a lot of times we judge ourselves for like having to go back to those times where we reprogram, but it's like, it's literally science in the way that we're wired. So it's like having more compassion for ourselves and understanding that
everything changes, everything can shift. Literally, your brain is made for it. Like I think that's the coolest thing of it all. It's like you can change your brain. You can change any belief that you've had. You know, even the beliefs that wasn't your fault, like when you were little, like it wasn't your responsibility to know what beliefs to take, what beliefs to like to just let go of. It was just an open book and everyone was kind of throwing things in the book and then just closing it. And then now the book is just closed, but you get to open the book and rewrite the things that you no longer want or no longer need or that doesn't serve you or your highest good. And I think it's just so much more like, also I really like the example of, you know, you writing your own movie. Like your life is just a script. You can erase the lines that you don't like and rewrite them. You know, you can do whatever you want, but when you understand that you are the co-creator of your life, that everything you do has an impact on your life and that you get to be who you want to be today is so awesome.
It's a superpower.
Yeah.
And you using it is how you show people or show source that you're grateful for it.
Yeah. It's awesome.
That's
what does your next level looks like?
Holy fucking moly. It's so funny because I was journaling it all last night because of the full moon. I was like, so what I've been doing is I used to write everything down, and don't get me wrong, I still write a lot of stuff down. But I love scripting. It's always been one of my favorite exercises. So scripting is like when you're journaling, but you're like acting as if it's already happened.
Yeah.
So
present tense, yeah.
Yeah. So when I was kind of scripting last night, I was again kind of going back to those patterns of the things that always happen to me. That's what I'm manifesting because I'm moving to the city, New York City. And I just kind of wrote down, like, I'm ready to be seen on a whole new level, which is scary, but exciting. Again, like kind of going back to like, I'm scared. I know why I'm scared and I'm okay if those things happen. And I'm also really excited. So just being seen on a whole new level, like honestly, what I see is me interviewing celebrities on red carpets, interviewing celebrities on my podcast. Again, I want like a hub where I could just have people come in, do a podcast interview. I want a team that can help me and like with the video. Some things that I'm doing a little bit differently is that like, instead of like having like employees and everything, like kind of just having a lot of contractors and like having a space where they can come work, but not necessarily have to be there. Just, I feel like that would just take a lot of pressure off of me too. The other thing is I want a stylist. I really want a stylist.
Ooh, girl.
I was like spamming this girl last night. I was like up all night looking at stylists, and I was like, I'm ready for this new level. So right now, that's what it looks like. And I think early next year is when I'm going to start to like talk to investors and stuff. But like, yeah, right now I'm just like, I'm really just creating this new character. Is what my mission is.
I love that. I want to like updates of this character. I'm following you everywhere though, but I want updates on that. I'm so excited for your next level. It's going to be awesome.
Thank you, love. I receive.
Yay. Awesome. Well, where can people find you online, and how can they work with you if they want to?
So where they can find me online is, I usually tell people to follow me on Instagram first, because that's where I'm most active. I love when people listen to podcasts and then they come tell me, like, screenshot this episode, tell us what you got out of it, what resonated with you. So you can find me on Instagram at Manifesting Money Podcast. And that's the same handle for my TikTok. TikTok is like where I'm pretty active on there. And I kind of do different content for each platform just because it just feels fun. But also find us on Spotify with the Manifesting Money Podcast. And how they can work with me, the only way that I'm taking clients right now is my 3-day Manifesting Money workshop. I truly believe that everybody should do it. So the story that I told in the beginning of manifesting the $400, that's what the 3-day Manifesting Money workshop pretty much is. It's just that step-by-step process of, like, not only manifesting the money, but understanding some beliefs that you were programmed growing up. And it's $44.44, but I have a discount code for you.
Oh,
yeah, for everybody in your community. So I'm going to give you this discount code so you can put it in the show notes. So it'll be $33.33. I keep it super low because I just want you to build your belief. Just start here, watch what happens, share your testimony. I just recently started to be more intimate with it. So I actually go in and look at everybody's assignments, and it's really fun. So highly recommend that you start there.
okay. Thank you so much for sharing all of this and sharing your story. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Me too.
Really what I love about, like, podcasting is, you know, having guests that are able to really share their message and makes it in a way that feels empowering. No, I love it. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Like I said, it's 11:11 my time. Thank you for having me. It's honestly such a pleasure sharing the stories to help building the belief, but also, like, thank you for doing the work that you've done and your level of awareness, because I truly believe that we wouldn't even be in each other's vortexes if you weren't conscious of the things that you are. So thank you for doing the work. You're setting the example, and thank you for making this podcast.
Thank you so much.
If you enjoyed this episode, I would be so grateful for you to subscribe to the Empowerpreneur podcast and leave a review. Let me know what you enjoyed and tell me who would you like to see on the podcast next. I'll see you next week.